Hey, what's up guys? It's your boy Sarthe, and in today's video we're gonna go over if Arathi Basin is actually fun in the Classic client release. Casual PvP hasn't been the highlight of WoW Classic so far, but the good news is I think everything's about to change. The reason I wanted to discuss this is because with every phase release, specifically when it's focused on the PvP releases, things have been kind of a letdown, right? When World PvP was released, all we saw was massive groups of Horde running around and mobbing an entire zone. And that was pretty much it. Blackrock Mountain was a war zone and the Battle of South Shore was a real thing. But honestly, it felt like one faction on every single server was kind of absolutely dominating. The next release was the battlegrounds. And for the first day, it was pretty fun. You were seeing instant queues and decent matches. Some of them would range between like 6 minutes and some would be like 15 minutes. The Horde seemed to have an advantage there and they were winning all of those until Alliance decided that they were just going to run premades every single time. Then Blizzard finally patched that and it moved on to the Warsong Gulch meta, which is also just straight up premades. I would say 9 out of 10 games you're fighting against a premade if you're not in a premade yourself. And not to say this is anything negative really, I just think that every PvP release so far has been a bit of a letdown. Like, if you yourself aren't really in the mood to get into a premade and just like try hard stomp everyone or try hard every battle, it's not really that fun. With the release of Arathi Basin, I'm really hoping that we do see the resurgence of casual PvP. The reason for this is that even in the best AB premades, you'd have to be 5 capping almost every single game in order to be getting the same amount of honor per hour or even a competitive level as doing Warsong Gulch premades. So what that really means is a lot of people aren't going to be focused specifically on AB premades. There's going to be a lot of them, especially these first few days. Everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. It's a new thing. It's hype. So you're going to run into a lot of premades right now. But even now, I'm seeing a lot of matches that aren't premades, or there'll be like a few people from the same server. And even when you're fighting premade versus premade, AB is a lot more fun of a PvP experience than the other battlegrounds. Alterac Valley is focused a lot more on the PvE aspect, and Warsong Gulch is specifically focused on how fast can we get these flags and can we slow down the other team. It's not really about like fighting, but AB is different. AB is all about team fights and communication. AB is a lot slower paced and you're not fully dependent on team composition like you were in Warsong Gulch or even a little bit in AV. You can kind of run whatever you want. There are optimal team compositions, warriors finally have their time to shine, and druids kind of take a step back, but you can play anything in this battleground. Honestly, there's so many team fights and there's so many times that you can just PvP out in the open or be defending a flag that you're finally actually just fighting all the time. Except for if you're a rogue or a tank or a druid, because you're probably going to be sticking back and holding the flag. And that's only actually if you care to win the battleground. What I'm thinking is going to happen is a lot of people are going to be getting into this battleground just to PvP. This is going to be the BG to PvP. So I honestly have already started not caring if we were going to win the battleground. It's fun and I do like to do the callouts. I think it's really fun to strategically outplay the other team. So it's obviously annoying if you lose a base and nobody called it out, but also it's super fun to just have these random PvP battles where you can take on 2 or 3 people and strategically you're slowing them down from reinforcing their team. But in all honesty, I'm legit just trying to PvP. I have been doing a lot of ninjaing of flags, which is also super fun, but like if you're not a stealth class, this is the time to actually fight and show off your skills in PvP. I mean, strategy plays a huge part and I'm gonna go over that in a second, but I think AB is finally the place to have fun. So just don't take it too seriously and get out there and have a good time. With that being said, there are a lot of strategies you can utilize to win the battleground a lot more often. Obviously, if you're gonna 5 cap, you're gonna basically instantly win. But if you're running premades or if you're trying to take it a little more serious, you should know exactly how to win this BG. The main strategy that's pretty much been accepted for all of World of Warcraft's history is to cap and hold 3 of the bases. The 3 bases that you want to focus on are going to be pretty much the same every time. Most of your team fights are going to be between Blacksmith and Lumbermill because those are the 2 most important bases. You're going to want to obviously hold down your faction's home base farm or stables, but that one's a lot easier to hold usually. Blacksmith is key because it's not only central and you can get your reinforcements out to any of the other bases faster than from anywhere else, but also the choke points to enter BS are pretty small, so defending it is a lot easier than you think. The only way to really take over Blacksmith is to attack it with superior numbers, or to distract the enemy team and ninja the flag. Lumber Mill can also get to the other bases faster. You have the high ground vantage point to be able to call out where the other team is moving and where they're attacking, and if you have Parachute Cloak or Slow Fall or Noggin Fogger, anything like that, you can get to Blacksmith basically instantly. So the 3 bases you want to focus on are your faction base, then Blacksmith, and then Lumber Mill. This leaves out our lonely mine. Mine is usually the least contested, so like 1 or 2 people can usually go over there and just take it. And when you do take it, it's kind of like to distract the other team. Unless you're 5 capping, it's more to distract the other team and have them send a force over to retake while you cap something else. During team fights, if you don't know this already, your team really should be focusing the healers. Healers mitigation is actually pretty weak, and healers positioning can be huge in team fights. So a really good pre-made, their healers are gonna know exactly where they can LOS, where they can hide, and they can also hang around with like rogues that will stealth open on anyone that opens on them. But if you can take out the enemy healers first, your team is almost guaranteed to win that team fight. So focus enemy healers, and then some of the times, the second that the enemy healers die, you actually want to move over towards their graveyard, because if the healers respawn, you can go over and CC them and keep them out of the fight for longer. If it's early on in the BG, make sure to also take their insignia because you don't want them just running away from the spirit healer and insta-rezzing as well. The last thing I want to mention for AB is that you're going to be fighting a lot. The amount of PvP you do is exponential compared to any of the other battlegrounds so far. So be ready to use a lot of engineering consumes, any of your class consumes. You're just going to be using a lot of stuff. You want to try to buff before the BG starts. You might want to try to buff right as you're rezzing sometimes if you have like people in your group near you. I honestly used hundreds of grenades yesterday, sapper charges, everything. It's a lot of fun, but the expenses can start to build up before you really notice. So just be aware of that. All right, guys, that's all I really wanted to talk about. I'm super stoked for AB's release. I hope that in the first few weeks, the pre-mades kind of take a step back from this battleground and we can just solo queue and finally have a place to just go in and constantly PvP. This is gonna be a blast. So hit me up in the comments and let me know what your experience has been like. I'm about to put out a video for the best in slot gear for phase 4 for rogues, if you're daggers or swords, and I'm also gonna be putting out one for the game's best gold farm that's coming out in the next phase. So make sure to hit the subscribe button to keep up to date with my videos, and feel free to hit me up on Twitch or come hang out. All right, guys, peace out. Have a blast out there.